Hey everybody, John Greenwald here with theblackvault.com. Now I'm going to refresh your memory here a little bit. We're going to go back to April of 2021. If you recall, around this time, there were a ton of UFO/UAP related videos. And I say UAP because that's the going buzzword nowadays. But those types of videos were leaking like a sieve from inside the Department of Defense and the Pentagon. Mostly published by Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. What I was surprised about during this whole era of leaks is that the Pentagon was very quick to confirm a lot of those videos and photographs to me and also others who had asked. But I went directly to Susan Goff, who is the spokesperson at the Pentagon who deals with all of this, with those videos and photos as they leaked. And I said, essentially as a beating a dead horse, broken record. What about this one? What about this one? And essentially tried to get all of the information that I could about the UFOs that were depicted, or what were labeled as UFOs, depicted in these videos and photographs. So without getting into all of them, we're going to focus in on one specifically, because during this time frame, even though I was going for statements from the Pentagon, some of my biggest haters out there think that I believe and just buy the Pentagon statements and put a period there and don't pursue anything. And that can't be farther from the truth. For over the last 25 years, I have learned very, very frequently over and over and over again that what they meaning the government, wants you to believe, and what they say at a press statement or press podium is wildly different in many times than the actual evidence itself. And will the documentation or whatever back up the press statements? Well, only time will tell, because the Public Affairs Office will hopefully answer you somewhat quick, but FOIA takes time. Well, fast forward from April of 2021 to just this last week, where it has taken that amount of time to dig into one specific, and let me see if I could share the screen here, one specific encounter that had leaked during that leak era, which oddly has kind of stopped since then. There's really nothing that has leaked, as far as I know, nothing that panned out anyway. There's been a couple, random internet videos that have surfaced, but nothing like that back in that time frame. So the specific one that I want to zone in on here is the Pyramid UFO video. This was the one that you can see some screenshots here. It had a corresponding unclassified slide that was part of a bigger presentation. Again, these are compliments of Jeremy Corbell's reporting and publishing. He was the one that initially broke this story. But my FOIA request zoned in on these particular claims. And you'll see here down here, let me see if I can zoom in. The USS Russell observed 3 UNK UASs, or unmanned aerial systems, seemingly triangular in shape from the angle of observation, hovering approximately 700 feet over RSL's fantail. 2 of the UAS are pictured above. Now, RSL, I'm assuming, is their acronym for the USS Russell, and UNK being the acronym for unknown. So lots of acronyms to learn through all this, but that was at least the context that was published with this slide. This slide was confirmed by the Pentagon as being quote-unquote official, but they would not give, and this is an important note, they would not give what they designated these objects, not only with this one, but all the other leaks as well. They wouldn't say if they considered them unidentified or labeled them as UAP. In this particular slide, it was listed as UAS, which is a fancy way of saying drone. There is a difference between UAS and UAV. I believe UAS has like a second pilot. I believe that's what it is. Don't quote me on that. But there is a little differentiation between the UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle, and UAS, unmanned aerial system. So when I had filed, I was going after whatever this was, because once the Pentagon confirmation came in, I had a leg to stand on from a legal sense. We know the event was real, whatever the event was. We know it actually happened, and we had a ship name, the USS Russell. So fast forward to, again, this week, finally got some information. And they gave me a picture. Now, this apparently was from that incident because, well, that's what my request asked for. Let me zoom out a little so you can see the 3 points here. I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, that's, they're flying in formation. It's a triangle. 3 points are always going to be a triangle. So it's not as impressive as some might think. But look at how unbelievably cruddy this photograph actually is. I was so excited when I learned that I was going to get a photograph when I opened up the FOIA response. And then this is what came up, all 8 pixels in their shining glory. But at least somehow this confirms that even though we knew through the Pentagon the event was real, they were taking other pictures as well. This is obviously not a screenshot of the video that Jeremy Corbell had leaked. This was something else entirely, likely not a photograph, more likely a still from a FLIR camera. That's a little bit of a guess. I'm still digging into this, but this was one of the first things that was released. Now, just to give you guys some background, what I had asked for in this request was all deck logs from the USS Russell for the entire month of July of 2019. The second thing I asked for in this specific request, all reports, memos, letters, emails, photos, videos pertaining to the USS Russell encountering unknown drones while operating off the coast of San Diego in July of 2019. Now, some of you may cringe and go, oh, come on, why are you saying drones? It's UFOs and UAP. That could very well be true. But the only thing that I could prove was this right here on a slide that was confirmed by the Pentagon. So you may not like the talk, but sadly, with the Pentagon, you have to talk the talk. And that is what I was able to confirm. Whether you call it UAP, UFO, flying saucer, flying pyramid, Anunnaki coming to visit us, whatever you want to call them, doesn't matter. But you have to essentially, from a legal standpoint, speak their language that you can prove. And I was able to prove drone. So that's why I had labeled the request that way. That was it. That's what I asked for. Now I say that was it. This number 2 line should have yielded a lot. The reports, the memos, the letters, the emails, the photos, and the videos. This should include this video here. We already have it leaked and it's confirmed, so we know it exists. Why wasn't that released? I don't know. I have filed an appeal on that. The photos, well, here's a photo in its shining 8-pixel glory. I've already showed you this with the 3 dots there. Apparently those may be the flying triangles or pyramids, whatever you want to call these objects. But that was it. The second thing that had come out was something that has been published before. This was published by the Drive's Warzone, a site that I respect a lot, including the main editor over there, Tyler Rogaway, including also the journalists who have dug in through FOIA, really digging in on this information, which would be Mark Cicciotti and Adam Kehoe. And also another one I definitely want to mention is a friend of mine, Dave Beatty, who has done a ton of research and is really dug in on some of these log files and trying to decipher some of this. So I wanted to give props to those 3 gentlemen there and the website that published this slide. So this was nothing new when I got it, but it was interesting nonetheless because it was from the USS Paul Hamilton. I didn't ask for anything from the USS Paul Hamilton, so although I am very thankful for getting more than what I asked for, what's interesting is, where's the Russell material? Where's all that? Were there other plot points here of the encounters that particular ship, the USS Russell, interacted with the UAS? You can see up here how they titled the slide. You can see here the timeline of events. You can see here the plot points of the USS Paul Hamilton and the plot points of the UASs. And then you'll see here from the legend right here, this star with the yellow star inside of it, the double star, is showing where that video was captured. It doesn't say video. It doesn't differentiate, between video and photos. So my guess, and it's just a guess, is this is likely the spot and area where they captured numerous videos, and potentially photographs. But sadly, the only thing I got was this pixel here. So where's all the other stuff is where I'm going with that. But also, this was the Paul Hamilton, what happened to the Russell. So I have appealed that as well, meaning where is all of that material? The original release did not include the USS Russell logs, despite the Freedom of Information Act letter making reference to that. So you can see here in the official response, this is where the photograph and slide came from, that they made reference to the USS Russell logs, all deck logs, for the month of July 2019, but they weren't there. So I appealed that as well. Now, thankfully, I actually got the logs yesterday, and I've added them to the URL, which is right down below. So make sure you click on that. You'll be able to download all of the 381 pages that they sent me of the entire month of July. The rumor was that even though this particular event was obviously a standalone event in the sense that the video captured that one event, there was much more going on roughly around the 14th on. So in order for me to be safe, I always cast a wider net than what I want. The idea and theories floating around were, again, starting on the 14th and going forward. But hey, I'm never happy enough with a small window. I got to go big or go home. So I request the entire month of July. Well, you now have access to the entire log file for the USS Russell for July. If you really want to dig in, you go to the 14th, and this is kind of an interesting, I should have found the page number. Let me go ahead and see if I can find it quickly here. Sorry about that, that I didn't plan that a little better. Here it is. Got lucky there. The reason why it sticks out is that large redaction right there. This is around the night that the drone encounters happened. And the reason why I know that that is what all of this pertains is, oddly, this has been released before. Dave Beatty, who I will also link down to below to his Twitter thread, he actually received this log quite some time ago and has, like I said, he's good at what he does. And he got this information before most anybody. And I think he was first to get it. When they originally released it to him, they didn't redact it. And so he was able to see all these drone plot points and timings on when they encountered the drones, and they used that wording, the drones. Now, what was interesting is the fact that, and let me see if I can pull this up here. Sorry to do this kind of on the fly while I'm recording this video, but it wasn't planned, so forgive me. But let me go ahead and pull it up here, and then that way I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can get it here. Leave me alone, Microsoft Edge. I never use this browser. All right, so here is Dave's post. And again, if you're not familiar with Dave, please definitely check him out and subscribe to his material because he's always posting cool stuff. So let me zoom in there, turn that volume down. So this was obviously what I just showed you guys with one difference, and I will explain that difference in a second. But here was the original release that Dave got. And you'll see here, drone spotted, drone spotted, drone spotted, and they plot the elevation and so on. Now, why from when Dave first got this to the second time many people were getting it, did they decide to release, not release those drone references? If you read it, there's really nothing classified here. There's no classified stamp, so it's not a threat to national security. So what is it that they're referencing? Well, this is what's interesting about the difference between Dave's release and mine. Dave had posted this and noted that this redaction, and you likely can't read it simply because of not only this video, but it's also very hard to read on Twitter. But you'll see red text here. The red text is a citation to why they redact something. B1 being national security, B6 being privacy information, and stuff that needs to be private, like names and so on. So this right here, B6 redaction. This right here, B6 redaction. This right here, big B6 redaction. Those are all names. And that's very common to see redacted. But this giant box here was cited as B3, United States Code Section 130. And that actually, if you look it up, which I won't bore you with, but if you look it up, it's about unclassified technical data with military or space application. So what referencing these drones that were spotted is about military or space application. Now, that's a generic title, meaning it doesn't automatically mean space technology or anything like that. I lean towards what they were going for is maybe this was military technology. And that is, in my opinion, definitely a going theory. Until I throw this monkey wrench into the wheel. Let me go back to the log that I got. A little easier to zoom in on this particular document. Remember that red text that I showed you guys? Well, it's gone. It's not on my release. And that release came after Dave's. So why is that? Why is it that all of a sudden the citation on the one very confusing citation is missing? So I went back to the U.S. Navy and tried to figure out what is going on. Why are you guys redacting under Section 130 of the U.S. Code? And yet on mine, you're not making that reference. What's the difference here? And oddly, and I haven't published this yet, so this is the first time I've talked about it, the Navy says my document should not have that redaction. Now, wait a minute. You may be asking, well, wait, the document has already had that in a prior release. Why is my document not supposed to have that? So I went back to the U.S. Navy again, and for the last couple of days, despite having quick responses, I'm now being ghosted. So they're not responding. Now, that could be because they're just angry that I appealed, that I went above the FOIA office and went to the appellate authority of the U.S. Navy. That's possible. But sadly, agencies are really painting me in a corner lately. Not only the U.S. Navy, but quite a few of them. There's a lot of pushback on this type of information, not only when it comes to drone encounters or what they label drone encounters, but more so a lot of the UAP information. And a lot of this is all lumped in the same category. So sadly, I'm forced to do a lot of these appeals because my appeal time has a clock. And after 90 days, I can't appeal anymore. And I found myself in situations where you try and be the nice guy and you reach out and ask a question and they'll ghost you. And it's easy to forget. I mean, I've got a lot of cases going on, a lot of non-UAP and UFO and UAS related cases. So I've got a lot of things balancing when it comes to different cases. So you can't always remember, oh, I better follow up with so-and-so. I try and use calendars, but that doesn't always work. So I filed the appeal. Maybe they're ghosting me because of that. In my opinion, also, they may be looking for an answer. And maybe the Navy is going up against the Department of Defense and the Pentagon on how they release information. Now, why do I say that? Well, I have learned in the last couple of months that UFO, UAP, and essentially these types of cases are all lumped together and are being forwarded to the Department of Defense for review on the release. So essentially, it's kind of like, in my opinion, maybe a third or a fourth set of eyes that are looking at this. How much are they playing a role in the declassification or the release of unclassified information such as this? There's a phrasing that some people are talking about now. It's been around for a long time. It's nothing new, but it's called controlled unclassified information, or CUI. So something that may not be classified, but they still control it, and they control the release to the general public. So there's a lot of control here. There's a lot of secrecy, and there's a lot of eyeballs that are going in on this. So why is it the U.S. Navy say to me, your document should not have that redaction? So my question back to them was, why did Dave's? Why was it published in the War Zones article? Why, and I believe that Mark and Adam Kehoe and their FOIA requests also had that citation. So why is that? And that's what I don't know. I wanted to do this video only after I got the answer from the U.S. Navy, but sadly, as they are quickly proving, they may not answer me in the coming weeks or maybe even months. It's possible that Dave or Adam or Mark or someone like the Drive, if they pursue it, maybe they'll get an answer. I'm not really sure, but regardless, it's very weird. It really is. It's very rare. And I've filed over 10,000 requests. It's very rare to see documents that are released, then when they're released again in the future are more redacted than they were originally released. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It has. It happened recently with me on a CIA case. I believe it was CIA. And I kind of called him out on it and say, hey, wait a minute. My mandatory declassification review request ended up in a worse case than when I started. So what's going on? And they said that that was a mistake. So mistakes happen, and things are they're human too. So we all make mistakes. But regardless, there's something about this topic and UAPs and these specific incidents that are creating a lot of problems. And Dave has posted a lot about that on his Twitter account and has for some time. He's really dug in on this. And he's somebody I hope to bring on the channel here pretty soon to help digest this, because there's some very confusing aspects to the encounters and how everything is unfolding and how the U.S. government is kind of handling it. And this is more proof of that. So when the U.S. Navy actually responds to me, keep an eye on this channel, but also make sure you subscribe to me on social media. That's where the quickest updates come from. But I know, and it's always a surprise how many of you, very high percentage, don't use social media at all. Very, very smart move. I wish I could join you in that, but I'm definitely too latched on to it because it's a good way to communicate with those who subscribe to the Black Vault. So keep an eye on the channel, keep an eye on social media if you use it, because whenever that answer comes in, I'll definitely publish it for all of you. Make sure you click on that link below to download the log files, the slide, the 6 pixels of that glorious photograph. And one last note about my appeal. I did appeal the quality. So if they come back to me and say that that's the best quality, then it is what it is, but I don't buy it. I don't buy that that is the best quality that they can get their hands on. And through FOIA, you should be transparent enough that if you release something, you should release the best copy available. And sometimes that is appealable. So that is in my appeal as well. All right. So that's the update. Lots of work still to do. There's a lot of other incidents that we've talked about when it comes to that leak era that, again, has oddly stopped. There's a lot more requests that I have that are still open that will hopefully yield some other results as well. And I'll keep you updated on not only this citation debacle, but on top of that, the further release of information. All right. Thanks so much for listening to the update. It's John Greenwald Jr. signing off. Click the thumbs up before you go. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you next time.